Do I really have to be doing this? Good grief. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you watched last week, you would know that pretty much the rest of this week has been filled with strife, chaos, angst, and turmoil. Mainly because of transpired. If you do not know what transpired, I suggest you go back on our YouTube channel and watch episode 7, just the mere beginning of it, and understand what I mean. But as you just noticed, I use strife, chaos, angst, and turmoil, the analogy that we use, and the acronym that we use for the word SCAT, as pertaining to my co host, who will be on here in a few short moments. But to go ahead and also listen to my co host, he said, give it time. Try to work through it. Don't let it get the best of you. So, you know what? I won't. I won't. Ladies and gentlemen, it is February 15th, 2025. It is exactly 12:04, which means it's Saturday afternoon. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to episode of the phenomenon known to mankind as Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, if you do not know who I am, whether you are dumb, stupid, blind, or just plain irrelevant, I suggest you go back to school, go into your local library, get the biggest dictionary you can find, preferably Merriam-Webster, and look me up under the word phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, the phenomenal one. And here I'm saying I'm not alone because, of course, I have my comrade, my brother from another mother and dimension, my tag team partner, the one and only limousine riding, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun who is not having a hard time over this alligator sound. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, give me 2 claps and a peeps H.
Woo! Yes, we are here once again, another great Saturday afternoon, as we always do. And of course, we do not do Saturdays without 3 tenets that you have to live by. You don't have to rip your shirt off. You don't have to drink something. You don't have to train, although it probably does help.
Take your
But yeah,
vitamins and all that kind of good
yes,
stuff.
exactly.
None of that.
3 tenets, laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. We give that to you every Saturday, and we're going to do it again today.
Exactly right. Absolutely. I see we have a new viewer on Twitch. Going ahead and watching us. His name is Biggs BTW7. He says, "Hey, what's up? What's up to you? What's up to all the
What's
people
going
that
on?
are there watching same today? We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. But of course, like I said, we have somebody else joining us here on Saturday afternoon's main event. It's crazy because after all the rules that I've been given to go ahead and sit there and actually listen to him, which sucks because now he actually has his own entrance theme. So, guys, I have to sit there and play that. Sucks. I hate this. Why, peeps? Why?
Did you
You know
just say
what?
he has his own theme?
He has his own theme to enter
Wow.
into Saturday afternoon's main event. Of course, why would it be the one person that's his pretty much his favorite wrestler? I give up. Anywho, ladies and
I
gentlemen,
understand.
if you aren't familiar with this individual, he is an esteemed wrestling confidant himself, a longtime wrestling fan. He has his own podcast, whether you can go ahead and watch him on YouTube at Morton's Law Wrestling Podcast. You can go ahead and watch it. You can go ahead and follow him on Twitter as well, since he is pretty vile on there as well. Followed by the one and only Uncle Dave Meltzer. Yes, indeed. At Morton's Law, of course. Ladies and gentlemen, he is... Should I really call him a friend? He's an acquaintance, okay? Which wasn't brought back on the show by myself, but because it is written into his contract. So... You know what? I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, his name is Christopher Morton, a.k.a. Mr. 411.
Get it right. It's intellectual property. Your lawyer dropped the ball again because he's incapable of reading, okay? By the way, where's Corey Bitchman these days? Just curious. And you're welcome, by the way, for the ratings increase. Almost a 50% increase of your previous show of this dying show that I'm here to save, because I'm your savior. I am your savior. And Diggs, welcome to the show. These two guys were just here to watch me. They don't even have to say anything. Look at Nate, early onset of dementia. Just look at him. I mean, who knows what's going on there in his mind?
I guess the ratings increase have nothing to do with the content as opposed to the people that are on the show.
Thank you, Pete.
There you go.
Thank you.
Isn't it good to be alive on a Saturday afternoon in New York City or what? Okay, to watch me, Mr. 411, deliver the news as only I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not even New York City. The man's from Staten Island. Let's be for real here. The one borough that nobody even cares about. Look, no one cares about Staten Island, Chris. Let's be for real.
Yeah, but people hate the Bronx too. So I mean, did we say
I'm not from the Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn.
Okay, I'm just saying. So did you guys?
We have a show to do.
Did you guys enjoy your Valentine's Day last night? How was Valentine's Day for everybody?
I surely did. Happy Valentine's Day to everybody. Yes. If you went ahead and enjoyed yourself, unlike most of the wrestling schmucks in the universe who probably don't have a girlfriend and have to use their right hand for the night.
Well, you know what brings a smile to my face on Valentine's Day? Can I tell you what brings a smile to my face? Knowing that a woman is alone with a cat, because that's what she deserves to be, is alone with a cat. Because women are essentially worthless, just so you know. All right. So I spent Friday night enjoying myself, okay, courtesy my left hand. So that was a great night for me. Because
so
you know what?
Heck, Chris, are you ambidextrous or something?
What?
Are you ambidextrous or something?
I'm a lefty.
Why did you even ask that question? Good Lord.
I don't even know.
Yeah. It's going to be one of those kinds of shows, folks. Yes.
You know what? My left hand never says no, and it doesn't ask to cuddle afterwards.
Can I just end the show here? Like, peeps, can I, like, you know
we got to go, fans. See you next week.
Thanks, Ski-Bone.
Brother.
Boys and girls, children all ages, as you can see, we're already giving you the laughs portion. We're already giving you the good times portion. So I guess there's only one part of the show that we have left to give you for the next 50 minutes. And that is the good times and professional wrestling news.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's go ahead and do that. Like I said, if you want to go ahead and follow us on Instagram, you can follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons _main event, on Twitter at Saturday Main, and on TikTok, if you want to go ahead and follow us on TikTok, with it being back in the App Store this week, you can go ahead and follow us at Saturday Afternoons ME.
Shout out Pro Wrestling Tees.
Absolutely. That's another good one. Like, thank you, Chris. You know, you're not too bad after all. Shout out to Pro Wrestling Tees for going ahead and shouting out Saturday Afternoon's Main Event on their YouTube page. If you ain't familiar with that, go ahead and go to Pro Wrestling Tees on YouTube. Of course, you can't miss it. We are dead smack posted right in the middle of their page. It's amazing. It's great. We're making strides, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday Afternoon's Main Event is literally going ahead and hitting the stratosphere, loaded up the jet with the rocket fuel, and going straight to the moon. Unlike Christopher Morton and whatever he's listening to down there with this Ultimate Warrior theme song going in the background. But you know what? Once more, I think this is going to be the fourth one of the day. I digress.
Nate doesn't even know what day it is. Look at him. He just looks confused half.
I definitely know it's a great day to actually do some wrestling news. So why don't we just get to that? How about that?
You're absolutely right, peeps. You're absolutely right. Well, look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, if you're familiar with the show, you do know what this sound is. If you're not familiar with the show, then ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and peeps, brace yourself because it is time for
Wrestling Crash Course.
Oh, there we go. We good.
Good. Okay,
We
perfect,
good.
perfect, perfect.
We good.
Look, okay, first order of news here on Wrestling Crash Course, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just go ahead and say this first and foremost. WWE has become absolute. This has been the biggest piece of news to hit pro wrestling in the last couple of months. Craziest debut in the matter of time that it happened. If honestly, we can go ahead and sit there and say, I can go ahead and sit there and tell these guys because these guys have actually experienced it. I haven't. But when it came down to Attitude Era, it felt like any given day, somebody from the other side, from the side that you cheered for, could pop up on any screen, right? You had the days of Razor, you had the days of Diesel, you had Luger, you had X Pac jumping ship immediately after WrestleMania 15. All these different names would go ahead and just show up on your television screen and you'd be like, what would happen next? Well, fast forward 25 years later, we kind of got that moment here in professional wrestling today. Why? Because literally this past Tuesday night, the absolute Ricky Starks showed up on NXT television. Let's just say it got quite the reaction, not only from the fans in the arena, but also from the IWC, from every other wrestling news journalist, from every single post possible. It was that, oh my gosh, absolute Ricky Starks, a day after the notion that he was done with AEW was received by the media, immediately it was like Shawn Michaels just hopped on a call and said, Ricky, come to Orlando. And it happened. Peeps, what are your thoughts? That Ricky Starks is with NXT.
I'll put it to you like this. He's in NXT for a good time, but not a long time. Because I think we definitely know he's going to go to the main roster probably sooner than we think. That's my estimation. First and foremost, the man that had no name when he came out there, I guess it was literally the second that contract was gone with AEW. Ricky Stark showed up and basically cut a promo letting everybody know that he is ready to rock and roll, so to speak. I think that the best thing about that entire deal was that he did it without having to say his name, probably due to the fact that they didn't get all of the idea of how they're going to promote him, what they're going to use. And I think a lot of people were probably afraid that they were going to give him some name like Richard Absolution or some goofy name like that they would come up with during the Vince days.
Richard Stunks.
Yeah, something along those lines. But I think that he made a call to everybody out there in the IWC that he's there, and I'm intrigued at how they're going to use him, not only in NXT, but his eventual main roster move. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Chris, what are your thoughts, man?
Well, he was finally set free, right? Finally set free after months and months and months of sitting home or working the indies. Didn't he just win an indie title, by the way? So how does that work? Is he going to
have to defy World Championship? Yup.
Right. So how does that work into his contract? Does he have to go drop that title? How's WWE going to work around that?
I'm pretty sure he's going to probably drop that belt at some point if he hasn't already. And I think that in general, what we'll probably end up going to see, there was another event that he was supposed to work where he was supposed to wrestle Aaron Solo. That's been put on hold. So I guess we know the reason why. So I guess anything that happens forward, independent booking wise, will be, I think, fully taken care of going forward. But so I ask you,
No, I'm sorry. Continue.
I was going to ask you, who do you think Ricky Starks' first opponent will be as far as working up some kind of a feud or a program with in NXT, and what do you think he'll eventually be doing when he gets to the main roster?
Well, first I wanted to counter that by saying, if you're in NXT and you see these guys coming from AEW, we saw Ethan Page, and we saw how fast he got elevated. Does that bother you? Are you annoyed by the fact that now another guy's going to come over from AEW and potentially take your spot and move you down on the card? I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
Can you imagine Eddie Thorpe going ahead and dropping some type of bombshell pipe bomb MJF-esque and like, hey, Sean, Ava, would you treat me better if I was an ex AEW guy? Like, it's one of those things where I sit there and I'm just like, I don't think there should be jealousy, honestly speaking, because if we're looking at it, a lot of the people in NXT are there because of development. A lot of them are there to go ahead and elevate themselves and at least learn before they go ahead and get to the main roster. We've seen people like Roxanne Perez spend their time literally within NXT after literally being within TNA, after literally going ahead and working with Reality of Wrestling. Although the experience was there, she had to learn. Julia, look at Julia. She's literally NXT Women's Champion. You have Stephanie Vaquer, who's literally about to, like go ahead and go into her North American title match tonight. It's like, you see these certain things and you're like, okay, is it really bad? No, because look, those who are supposed to be getting elevated on NXT are getting elevated. The reason NXT is there is because it's a developmental brand. Although they treat it as if it's a third brand, I don't sit there and look at it like, oh, everybody has to get their due. No, in due time, everybody will get their due. What I'm sitting there looking at it for is Ethan Page. Look, a lot of people knew Ethan Page prior to him going ahead and coming to WWE. A lot of people knew Shawn Spears before he went ahead and showed up to WWE. Even his previous stint with being the perfect 10, Ty Dillinger. You have, Ricky Starks coming in, who has already been acclimated by the likes of Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, The Undertaker, just to name a few. Bayley, who was a perfectly good friend with the man. You sit there and you look at that, I like Peep said, a good time, but not a long time. I feel as if he's only there for just a minimal amount of time to get familiar with the WWE universe. I feel as if his first feud, it should be with somebody like Ethan Page. If they're gonna play the heel role like they've done, like Tony Khan did with him prior, then I would say, look, if you're gonna go ahead and pull something like the Radicals or the Outsiders, it'll be perfect to have Ethan Page and Ricky Starks be together and beat the holy hell out of Javon Evans if it came down to it. That's just me being me. But like I said, I don't feel as if anybody else should be bothered by it because look, they're all there to be elevated. The only thing is that there are some people coming from other places who are already much more on a higher platform than those who are in NXT and that started out within the Performance Center or whatnot.
Yeah, but there's definitely ego involved. There's always ego involved, and there's always that thought of, okay, I'm low on the card right now, and maybe I'm working my way up, and now this guy's going to take my TV time. So that's
that's another thing. But you got to understand as well, Chris. This isn't 1995. It isn't it isn't Attitude Era. It isn't like individuals are fighting for TV time anymore. There's how many different NXT shows. There's how many different ways that you can go ahead and end up going ahead and wrestling a match, and it will be shown throughout the universe. There's many different ways that you can go ahead and get up and get elevated. So it's like I don't sit there and look at it like, oh, you only had Raw in the 90s and that was it, or you only had WCW Nitro and then Thunder. You have other shows that are literally being shown like Main Event or WWE Speed or I know.
Yeah, but no one's watching those shows. Nobody's watching those shows.
But I mean, those who are like the common fans, those who will go ahead and sit there and want to tune in to see that wrestler go ahead and show up, they'll go ahead and watch it. You never know, Chris.
So then, so to your point earlier, Rich, you could say that one of those guys, I don't know who you just mentioned about cutting a promo, could say, oh, so you're bringing in another guy from a company that's going to do 200,000 less people. So I guess you guys want to lose ratings.
That would be something that would be worked on. But you did say that there are more hours of programming that are available to them. Speed is one of them. You also have Evolve that's going to be showing on Tubi, which is a free service to watch, but it's still more eyeballs. And whatever LFG isn't watched live.
Right.
Yeah.
And then even LFG appears to be another minor league.
Yes. So you get you get the developmental part of it in a reality sense as far as a reality show. But I think if you're looking at NXT, I think we can kind of pull away the development aspect of calling that brand development and not using it as a pejorative, where we would look at it and say, well, NXT as the developmental brand, you have, when people think of development, it's a couple of rookies, guys that were just on the independents. And that's not always the case because we have a lot of guys that have been in other promotions that weren't independent promotions coming into NXT. And the developmental part is the developing the WWE way of showcasing your in-ring talent and reintroducing you so that NXT, SmackDown, and Raw are kind of in synergy, but separate enough to define what their brand is. So I think that's the development aspect of it. But to have Ricky Starks and other people like that coming in, oh, it's glorious. Knowing what all of the different cuts and all of the things that have happened over the last few days and weeks, and we know Rey Fenix at some point is going to want to come into the WWE at some point to join his brother Penta. We know that there's a lot of things brewing on the horizon for new talent from AEW or any other promotion to come into the WWE.
Ricky Starks should show up on TNA. That would be amazing if he showed up there, cut a promo there too. Because I mean, think about it. They're coming to New York soon to have a big house.
You're right.
So
yes.
You're right. As many names as possible for that show.
Yes.
You're right. What, WWE Roadblock at like the theater at MSG, I think? That's what they're supposed to be doing? That's supposed to be another good show. So we'll see what happens with that. But look, hats off to Ricky Starks going ahead and showing off, showing up to NXT.
The revolution will now be televised.
You're absolutely right. I'm not gonna go ahead and hit that, hit that whole thing because it's so cringy.
You can't do it. Come on, show it to me.
No, I hate it. Honestly, anything I love about Ricky Starks, I just hate that. Like, it's just like, what are we doing? Like,
by the way,
I
think Nate just broke a hip trying to do that.
It's like he's the greaseball version of Fandango. Like, do I really need to? Like, stop with that. Like, you're a star. Come on. There's some things that we shouldn't be doing.
That's the worst part about his character, that thing, right?
Absolutely. That's what I'm thinking as well. But look, aside from all of that, we go ahead and we move to the world of AEW. And as they lose a star and a perfectly amazing talent in the absolute Ricky Starks, they gain another because the man that they call a walking weapon is now making his way to AEW. Ladies and gentlemen, Josh Alexander is on his way out of TNA. And he's on his way to All Elite Wrestling. Peeps, how does this happen? How does one look at what happens to Deonna Purrazzo and say, I want that for myself? You know what? I got the answer for you, peeps. Freaking paycheck! The floor is yours.
There you go. What I firmly believe is Josh Alexander is looking to branch out his brand. That's what I think. And in his eyes, maybe he's looking at some of the guys that are in AEW, some of the talent, and is looking at, I want to get into a match with that guy. And we know for the 6 years that Josh Alexander was in TNA, being a former world champion, being part of that group called the North, knowing what he can do, and basically being an MMA version of Kurt Angle. As far as I'm concerned, one of the most talented in-ring wrestlers that has been over the last decade. They're going to showcase it in that realm where AEW likes to showcase in-ring work more so than a lot of the other things that we have talked about and probably will talk about later on in the show. I think for him, he thinks the fit for him will work. And I'm pretty sure getting a real hefty salary doesn't hurt either. So maybe that's what he's looking at.
I agree. Chris, how you feel?
Well, I always have to take the contrarian view because Nate, of course, likes to verbally fillet everybody. And in fact, we should call Nate Deep Throat. How about that?
Lord.
So the thought here is he another guy that's going to get lost in the AEW shuffle of horrible booking? I mean, yeah, he's a talented guy in ring without question. But I don't know. I haven't watched TNA enough to say whether his promos make the cut or not. Do they? Yes or no?
Maybe not really.
Is he a draw? I don't think so. Okay, I'm just saying I don't think this guy's a draw. So I don't know if he's going to change anything in AEW aside from coming in like a house of fire, beating a handful of people, and then again getting lost in the Siberia of booking that is AEW. So it's just I can't get excited about it. I'm sorry, and I do believe he and Raymond Rowe, of the War Raiders, should form a tag team because they have very similar prison tattoos, and they could call themselves the Nazis. Like that would be a good tag team, I think, because they both look kind of like that.
This is where we usually normally put the disclaimer.
You want to
But
do that, Peeps? Because I think I'm out of disclaimers for the rest of the year. Like
yeah,
So, while I don't have a lot to say on Josh Alexander, I did want to use this time, and we're going to actually transition here. Intellectual property, I can just change the topic, by the way, to AEW Dynamite. And the first thing that stood out to me on this show, we all talk about how bad Schiavone is at his job, right? He's obviously Tony Khan with a voice, because Tony's telling him everything what to say in the ear, with the exception of certain things like the following, which is embarrassing and bad for the product. So he had the audacity to say this during the Death Riders tag team match. He did not realize or know in the storyline that Wheeler Yuta is now in the Death Riders willingly. Like, he actually said Wheeler Yuta is in the Death Riders under duress, to which Excalibur, surprisingly paying attention, by the way, not having to get ready for his next read, was commented and said, no, he actually is part of the Death Riders. Like, he wants to be in the group. So that's just, I can only imagine Tony Khan's reaction to that backstage. Like, Tony Schiavone, what are you watching? How do you not know that Wheeler Yuta is now? I mean, I don't think anyone wants to really be in the Death Riders because it's death, right? It is just that. But still, bad job by Tony.
I mean, this is All Elite Wrestling. This is, pretty much the same company that is literally getting hats off by Dave Meltzer for winning Wrestling Observer Newsletter year-end awards. I give up. You know what? I digress. On to the next one, right?
So, real quick, I have a couple other things to say. So, MJF, by the way, absolutely destroyed Hangman in that backstage promo. It was well done. It was his best work in months. Like, all the crap we had to sit through with Jeff Jarrett and Dustin Rhodes, that one promo just made us remember why MJF is so damn good. That was phenomenal. Also, Dustin Rhodes, again, another Tony Schiavone thing. So I'm not sure everybody agrees with this. You may give me some heat for this. Dustin Rhodes is not a legend. I'm sorry. He's not a legend. You know who the legend is? Goldust, not Dustin Rhodes. When you take the natural Dustin Rhodes and you split the two careers, the natural Dustin Rhodes has done nothing in his career to be a legend. Never been a main eventer. No one has ever cared about the natural Dustin Rhodes. I'm sorry to say that. Yeah, a few people in Austin did care. I can't deny that. There was some people behind him. And what's the deal with him and everyone in this company? They can't finish a sentence without saying the word bitch. Even he's saying it now. It's embarrassing. Stop saying the word, please. It's so bad.
Yeah. That's that edge.
Yeah, it's so bad.
Edge, yeah.
And then the last thing I will say, I will give them credit. The MJF Hangman brawl was well done. I liked it a lot. So even on a shit show like this, they did something right, and this was really good.
Although I still feel like they're not getting the face heel thing right, because it's like, how is it that Heyman is a face in all of this? I just want to ask, like, seriously.
Right. Did he not burn down Swerve's house a few months ago?
House, stuck a syringe in the man, a hyperbolic needle, ladies and gentlemen. Stuck a hyperbolic needle in the man's mouth. Okay, like, steel chair shot to the head, unprotected, whether it was gimmicked or not. Okay, yeah, like, are we really sitting here and like just making him the face after everything storytelling wise this man is literally done within the last year? Yeah. Once more, AEW stupidity, guys.
You know, the crazy part about this is that when we talked about Hangman Adam Page, if there was any time that they were going to push him, it was going to be shortly after the Swerve feud, because whether people like Page or not, he was actually hot at the time. They had that chance, a built-in push for him, and it cooled off. And then they've kind of came back for it.
What's the point of coming back for it if he's not a face?
Yeah. Is he a tweener? Is he a heel? Is he just angry trying to get a championship match?
Against MJ?
Yeah.
They don't know.
I give up.
Yeah. I'm digressing on that.
No,
so that's number 5.
What about his promo? Did MJF say you don't know who you are? Wasn't that one of the lines in the promo?
I think so, yeah.
You don't know what you want. You don't know what your deal is. Like, what he shot him down the way CM Punk would have a promo battle with Hangman. Just destroyed him.
The world that we live in, ladies and gentlemen. But from that, we move to the world of WWE once more. And now, of course, it's WrestleMania season. We now have our second entrant into the WWE Hall of Fame of 2025. People are calling it nepotism. Other people are calling it, a good sense of being a part of management. Others are just calling it, look, how does she get it before anybody else? But look, I'm calling it a good move. Michelle McCool is entering into the women's wing of the WWE Hall of Fame this year alongside Triple H. Of course, many other names could be able to be called later on, but what do you guys think about this?
I'm going to take this first. Nate, you go have a sip.
Bad idea.
In fact, I demand you have a sip now. Michelle McCool, all right, there's some dark periods of WWE history, right? I think a lot of that was after Eddie's passing. And I feel like I, myself, stopped watching because there was a lot of garbage, especially what I consider the JBL era. I hated that era. And she was a part of that era. And I can honestly not tell you anything about her career in terms of her matches, if they were good or not. I don't know because there's no memory of them. Nor do I think anyone else would care that much. Now, did she get in because of her ability, or did she get in because she's married to The Undertaker? Nate?
Well, I think a lot of people probably will think that. I think that most, if anything, is taken out of who she is to the wrestling populace, she's going to come across as a person that is known for two things. The first thing you said, being married to The Undertaker. And the second is having an issue with taking AJ Styles' finishing move and everybody getting all over her case a few years back. So a lot of people, I remember when that happened, it was like, wait a minute, is it a tribute to AJ Styles? Or was that the case to the extent that AJ even had a problem with it and she wanted to call AJ? So those are the two things that people are going to look at Michelle McCool as far as that goes. Yeah. But in general, like you said,
bitch. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud?
The one thing that I will agree with you on is that she wrestled in the era that a lot of people probably did not watch or really like as much. So that may also hurt her in the eyes of people that are trying to remember her for what she did within the ring, as far as in-ring work, talent, matches, feuds, etc. So there's that.
For me, I kind of beg to differ with you two gentlemen. As much as you guys may be distinguished, Chris, as much as you two may be distinguished in the ways that you might explain her going ahead and entering the WWE Hall of Fame, I have different, memories, of course, being that I grew up in the Ruthless Aggression era, post Chris Benoit, and how they were trying to go ahead and, clean up WWE post that era and turning it into WWHD and then turning it PG and all these different types of other things. I remember Michelle McCool for being in Lay Cool with Layla. I remember her going ahead and actually splitting the women's championship with Layla, having to go ahead and actually cut the championship in half. What the heck, Vince McMahon? What the hell were we doing back then? But I remember a lot of the things that she was doing, of course, especially with her, even in NXT, before NXT was NXT, mentoring Caval. Good. You know what? So I think my memory is, good, besides Peeps, no offense. But, I feel that there's a lot of things that she did for that era when it came to the women's aspect of wrestling that, of course, during that time you had people from the likes of Ashley Mazzaro, rest in peace, people from the likes of Natalia just starting up, Beth Phoenix, Melina, Rosa Mendez, if I can go ahead and add her. Other, certain names around that Divas era before it went ahead and transferred it into women's wrestling. She helped out a lot. If I'm being for real, she helped out a lot. So I give her fair share of flowers for that. And I say that there's a good, liable reason as to why she's going ahead and going into the Hall of Fame. I feel as if it's level blue. But when it comes to other names, like I just stated, Ashley Mazzar, when it comes to names like Melina, when it comes to names like Victoria, I feel that they probably should have won it at least a bit. Jazz, per se.
Without question. Yes.
You told me Jazz was going into the Hall of Fame. I would have sat here like, oh, yes, Triple H, God bless you. But, so cool for what it is. I have no problem with it. That's just me.
This isn't to say that she had no talent or anything that's the case. I'm not saying that. What I think is it's that when all of us coming from the world of sports and we hear Hall of Fame, I think a lot of people are looking at it from, Okay, what were those moments that you had that would distinguish you from a lot of the other people that either deserve to be in a Hall of Fame or
Zero.
would be there?
Zero. And listen, I'm
You
not
got a
killing
point.
her. I don't know her in-ring work. I couldn't tell you anything. If I go watch a match, I'll let you know afterwards. I have not seen a match in recent years to even have a recollection of what she was capable of in the ring. And by the way, do you think I have heat now with the Undertaker? I don't know. I think I'm a little
Uh,
nervous.
I don't know, Chris. That's your yo. Listen, that's your grave. That's your digging. You know, that's not mine. Definitely not mine. Good luck with that, bud. I'll see you in the nether. You know, but aside from that, look, ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and move into this real quickly because, of course, we are 30 minutes in. It's been a long, lengthy conversation when it comes to Wrestling Crash Course. That marks the end of Wrestling Crash Course. You guys want to go ahead and tune in for anything else? Wrestling news wise, go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons Main Event. Follow us on Twitter at Saturday Main. Follow us on TikTok at Saturday Afternoons ME. We will go ahead and be posting updates, whatever the case may be, from whatever may be happening within the world of professional wrestling will be going on there for the whole duration of the week. So make sure you go ahead and tune in on there. But with that being said, look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're going to go ahead and do this real quickly because, of course, tonight, which I will not be watching because we have Vengeance Day and we have the NBA All-Star Saturday night to go ahead and get to. I want to sit there and watch a dunk contest and a three-point contest. Okay? Wrestling after 10:30 does not work for me. So, just being honest here, if it's not a big four pay-per-view, or if it's not an AEW caliber double or nothing, full gear, all in, all out, I'm not doing it. That's just case in point. So, from what I'm hearing, Australia got their glorified collision, right? AEW Grand Slam, which was supposed to take place in a stadium and then got moved because ticket sales weren't doing as good. Then you go ahead and move it to an arena, which isn't bad. You go ahead and draw 10K. Perfect. Calling it a success? I don't think so, because if you guys booked it as an arena show to begin with and you guys did that number, perfect. I applaud you. Great job. But the fact that it started off as a stadium and show, because it wasn't selling, you guys went ahead and moved on and going ahead and just making it an arena show. Give me a break. The fact of the matter is that they did 10K. Perfect. The other problem is that it's an Australia show, meaning we would be watching it in the US early in the morning. Guys, explain to me why we're not watching it early in the morning. Oh, yeah, that's right, because they also were smart enough. Tony Khan, such a genius. He was smart enough to go ahead and put it up as a Saturday show around the date NBA All-Star Weekend. And what does Turner tell him? Well, look, professional wrestling isn't bad, but it doesn't go ahead and supersede NBA All-Star Saturday night. So yeah, go kick the bucket. You're on 10:30. While the show has already been done, I was up at 2:30 at work. The show started at 5:30 Australia time, meaning it started at 2:30 over here Eastern Standard Time. What does that mean? Oh yeah, I know what that means. Show's been over with. If you were to go on Twitter right now, the show's pretty much to you on a silver platter, which is why I'm trying my hardest to avoid the IWC because I don't want to see nothing. I'd rather just hear about it. But look, guys, we'll go ahead and speed run through this. We're seeing that there's about 5 matches on the card. This should be a cool looking show. But look, from you guys, I want to hear what your thoughts are. What do you guys feel as if it's going to be like, calling card for this show? Who you feel as if is going over within these matches? Here are the matches here on the screen. Tell me what you guys think. Look, I'm going to go ahead and go down the wire here. Ospreay Omega, Seth Riders, Kaz Okada, and Timeless Tony Storm. How about that?
Yeah, and I'm of the mindset that the Storm versus Mariah May, that will probably end up being the main event of the show. I don't know. I'm going to make sure when I see it, because I'm going to record it and watch it later on. Right? Yeah. So they're in Australia.
You have the spoilers are right there. What'd you do?
Well, I'm.
Oh my God!
Spoilers!
Wow.
What are you doing?
Yo, the people in the internet wrestling community are messed up. Holy hell!
Oh, that's a good thing. I guess I didn't. It's a good thing I didn't see those results. I just saw the names of the matches. Good thing I didn't see that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I
Wow.
did not mean that. See, this is why I hate that shows are pre-taped. This is exactly why, because I genuinely had it uploaded since the morning. It didn't change until literally once I started the show. See, okay,
Wow.
this is.
It's gonna be one of it. Like I said, it was gonna be one of those shows, folks. There you go.
I don't even
So-
know if Uncle Triple C can come in and save this show. It just died.
Oh boy.
That is
Wow.
an understatement. The fact of the matter is, look, ladies and gentlemen, we're so sorry for that. We did not mean for that to happen. I sat there and I was above the impression that it was perfectly fine. As I stated, went ahead and got it uploaded today. Results weren't there. Now that I go ahead and share the screen, it refreshes.
Wait, listen,
results
to
are
be
there.
fair, Phenomenal One, all the sickos, right, who have the ability to steal stuff online have already watched the show. I guarantee you a large percentage of the IWC have already seen the show.
But the funny thing is, Chris, it wasn't even live on Australian television.
Oh, so you don't think it's online right now?
It's not.
It's not.
Nothing
Oh.
taped by AEW rights is on right now at all.
Mm.
They didn't even show it live in Australia. They're showing it live later tonight in Australia. Not even for the.
That's
what
crazy.
I'm saying. Like, that's how much of a cluster. I can't even go ahead and say the word on TV. Like, that's how much of a cluster messed up this was. Like, it was messed up. They didn't plan this out at all well.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, nothing's here. You're right.
Yeah. Go figure. Go
Right.
figure. See, this kind of belies what we were talking about as far as a
You
lot
just
of things
ruined
out there.
everything.
The one thing that I will say that isn't as much a spoiler as somebody that was actually at the show where Tony Khan came outside and kind of addressed the fans.
Oh, he got booed.
Tony Khan was booed vociferously.
I
He
waiting
was
for the review.
literally booed out of the building. And it's mostly not so much the in-ring quality of the show. It's over the ticket issues that we just talked about. They were supposed to be at a 52,000 seat stadium that was moved weeks later
Ambitious.
to the Brisbane Entertainment Center, which does 13,500. And to give them the idea that even though we know that Grand Slam had never been a pay-per-view, they were talking about it as such, to the extent that Tony Khan on Twitter actually mentioned it as a pay-per-view and made a mistake and then deleted the tweet. So for those that are actually thinking that that was going to be a pay-per-view to bring the show over there, that's where a lot of that mindset came from. So
wait, so that means the ticket prices were jacked up as a result of that?
Yeah,
pretty
so
much.
Imagine paying $400 for a ticket that you probably could have gotten for $50
Yes.
to $60, literally a couple of weeks later. Like, imagine that, Chris. Like, just
because
imagine
Tony
that.
Khan basically said that this was one of the highest grossing AEW international shows in history in a 13,000 seat stadium.
Third,
I should say.
most.
Yes, third. Think about that.
How many international shows has AEW had?
3, 4 tops.
So you're dead second to last on highest game for a show, and you're sitting
Yes.
there talking about it?
And then
They
the
didn't
prices
do
of
anything
those
else.
tickets were extended higher than they should have been. So go figure.
Why are they so much of a laughing stock?
So answer this question. Based on all this, did he just kill Australia? I know that people had already bought the tickets, so they're going to show up. But can he go back there now? Probably not, right? It's dead. It's dead.
I'll look at it like this. WWE did Backlash in Australia. What was it? Just last year. You saw what they got in the audience there.
Was it Backlash or Elimination Chamber?
Elimination Chamber, I should say, in Perth. If the WWE decides to go back to Australia within the next, say, 18 months, do you think they're going to have an issue with selling out a building?
Without question. Why would
I
you
think that'll determine the answer of if AEW's market has had damage over in Australia.
You got swindled by a used car salesman. That is Tony Khan.
Peeps. AEW All in Texas has only sold about 18,000 tickets. Are we really sitting here having this conversation?
That is crazy.
What is the building set up for? Is it set up for 35 or 40? What is it set up
35 to 40. I think somewhere around that. Somewhere maybe. Has to be.
Wow.
So you can essentially sell out. Well, what's the big building in Houston?
It's not even Houston, Dallas.
It's Dallas. So
it's right across the street. It's right across the street from Jerry's World.
Okay, so where
Yeah,
the Mavericks play, I believe they hold about 18 to 20,000. So right now, you could have moved it to that building, and it would have looked like a full building.
but they
Do you want them
sold
to move
all
it?
in on.
Imagine if they were to.
But the crazy part about it is that they've used the all in sales pitch as a stadium show. And if they go back on that because of bad ticket sales, this is going to
Oh, they'll
look
look
like
like
if
oh,
Chris will remember this. If you remember Clash of the Champions 6, and this is going back to 1989, when the main event of that show was Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair.
Right.
2 out of 3 fall match for the NWA World title. They went to the Superdome. Superdome, which can hold 50, 60,000. I believe they only got like 6,000 fans in the building.
Oh, yeah, it was a horrible situation.
It was a bad look, and it happened the same day of WrestleMania. So you don't want to have the optics of that showing up on a pay-per-view.
Or modern time optics is when TNA decided to run at the Pontiac, not the Silverdome. Where did the Pistons used to play at?
Oh, at the Palace?
Auburn Hills. Remember when TNA did the pay-per-view there? In the building holds 18,000. I think they drew about 3,000 or 4.
Yeah.
Guys,
those are the risks you run.
The number's worse. See, I read it wrong. Per WrestleTix, the current setup is 18,000.
Okay.
They've only sold 11,000 tickets for AEW All In Texas.
Wow.
They wouldn't even sell out the Mavericks building right now.
That is not good.
How do you make that place look presentable to have only 11 or whatever they end up?
I'm looking at this seating chart. Most of the upper deck, second, third levels.
Yeah, they can't shoot any of that. They're gonna have to have
lower
a tight
floor
on a stadium.
Not even. Yeah. I don't even think thousands of tickets have been sold on the lower floor.
Wow.
This is
that is something that they're going to have to look into, and they're going to have to stop booking these huge stadium shows and go back to, as we've talked about before on the show, smaller venues. They, even when they have the smaller venues, they still get a lot of real great energy from their fans, so that you can then translate that on television and not have to worry about, well, we have to tarp off all of these seats.
Well,
absolutely right.
Right for Dynamite and Collision. Listen, all this stuff was done weeks and months ago. They're clearly changing their business plan, and to a degree, it's working. It does sound better. The acoustics in the buildings sound a lot better. The energy sounds less. By the way, Phenomenal One, I want to let you know, because he's such a big fan of the show, Tony Khan asked WBD to give us an overrun. So we have an overrun on Same today.
Oh, good grief.
We have an overrun on Same? Are you kidding me?
We have a
I guess Tony Schiavone got it into the headset, huh? Oh boy. Yeah.
You know what? Okay, so I guess what is it, a 5-10 minute overrun? What are we doing here?
At least 7 minutes.
At least 7 minutes. Okay, cool, no problem. Well, you know what? Look, we have about 10 minutes left, which would be what it would be. You know what? 107 is the team time. Okay, look, we're not even gonna go ahead and get into a break. We're gonna go straight into the questions, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Look, you want to go ahead and send in a question? All you got to do is one thing and one thing only. DM us on Instagram at Saturday Afternoons_main event. Send in the question in the words of the Wrestling God, WWE Hall of Famer JBL. I guarantee will be on the next episode of the show. So look, we only have 2 today. Good. Okay, cool. We're gonna speed run through this. Master Shaw 007, he says, "Greetings, gentlemen. With it being Black History Month, let's play a little game." Chris, relax here. He's not talking about like Black. Okay, please. Let's see which one of you guys can name from memory the most Black wrestlers past and present. Okay, so do we just want to go in a pattern here? So it's just me, Peeps, Chris, we each just name a professional wrestler and just see how many times
this can last a while. We do know a lot of Black professional wrestlers.
Yes.
You know what? Yeah, but
I don't want to do this. This is weird. This is know we know a lot.
Yes.
We know a lot. If we have to sit there and name it, it's just okay. You know what? We'll save that question for next week. How about that?
How about name your top 5? No. Let's do that. Name your top 5 Black wrestlers of all time. Nate, go.
Okay. Ron Simmons, Tony Atlas.
Okay.
Rocky. I can throw in Rocky Johnson.
You can. You can throw in. Isn't Dwayne the Rock Johnson Black?
Yeah, throw him in there as well.
I'm gonna go obscure, by the way. I'm gonna go obscure to show Master 007 my history and knowledge.
Yeah.
You finish yours.
Do you want to throw in Abdullah the Butcher, who just literally just started to just destroy everybody? If you want to call him, you great. And
what the hell is Ricky Starks, by the way? No, I'm kidding. What is
Chris.
You know what? You take it away. Take it away. My brain is
okay. Iceman King Parsons.
There's a good one. There's a good one.
I'm gonna give you my Willie Hobbs.
There you go.
Right? I love Will Hobbs.
Yes.
I'm gonna give you. Let me think. I'm gonna go deep in the crates here. Ernie Ladd, Big Cat Ernie Ladd.
Ernie Ladd. There you go.
Yes. How about Pistol Pez Watley?
Yes. There you go.
The Junkyard Dog.
There you go. Throw in some Bobo Brazil if you want to throw him in there as well. Okay. SD Jones.
Too Cold Scorpio.
Yes, love that one.
You know, if I'm gonna have to sit there and be for real, Booker T, you throw him in. Elijah Burke. Elijah Burke. That's another one. Big E. You know, Jesus, who else can I possibly name? Jonathan Gresham. That's another one. For the creative aspect, The Godfather. Him and pimping all these hoes, you know. You can throw him in.
Multi-time champion Jay Lethal.
Yes,
that's another good one. If you wanted to go ahead and add in Ahmed Johnson, I'm just kidding. Guys, relax.
How about the natural Butch Reed? The natural Butch Reed.
Mark Henry, Shelton Benjamin.
Right.
Bobby Lashley. The Rock, Bobby Lashley. New Jack.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And you didn't say New Jack's name under duress of fear that he would come out of the grave and cut you up, would you? That was on your own volition. There we go.
Kamala. That's the oldie. Keith Lee, pre AEW.
Yes.
Is Dante Martin? Dante Martin dead? I mean,
wait, we forget about Swerve and Ricochet.
Yeah, guys that are actually currently wrestling.
Ricochet, I count him as Caucasian. I can't.
I'll throw one that used to be on the independent promotion, the Human Tornado. I don't know if anybody used to see this guy wrestle on the independents, but this guy, he was a thin guy that could just go and flip around and do a lot of crazy stuff. He was actually pretty good. Cheeseburger, there you go.
Another Ring of Honor guy, the Black Nature Boy, Scoot Andrews.
There you go. Yes.
Oh my God. Jeez. You know what? For the fun of it, Prince Nana. You know what?
There you go.
Brickhouse Brown, going back to the 80s.
Elix Skipper.
Yes.
Norman Smiley.
Yeah, that's
throw those guys in there.
You're right. That's Smiley.
Patterson. Why not?
Yes.
Yeah. Geez. Okay. So I think we named a lot.
Yeah.
We got a good number. Okay. You know what? Right. That's number 7. We hope we answered that to the best of our abilities.
There you go.
Tombstone City Adam. He says, "Who should really face Cody at Mania, Cena or Punk?"
What if it? You know what someone said to me yesterday, and it makes sense. What if it's a 3-way?
That's lazy booking. I hate that. That would have to be the case, because then you can make the case for Randy Orton being a part of that. And
I still think that Orton is probably in the weeds that we haven't even talked about yet for that goes. But you know what?
You're absolutely right.
One thing that Chris and I are in lockstep with when it comes to triple threat matches is the only reason to book a triple threat match is if it makes sense for the storyline and it's not overdone.
Right.
Other than that, it's lazy booking. We've seen it happen too often for a qualifier or for just because they have a bunch of wrestlers that are on the card that haven't had singles programs. But if you build the same way that they did at WrestleMania 2000, well, they made it a 4-way match with Big Show and Triple H and I believe it was Cactus and trying to remember who the 4th wrestler was in there, but they made it was initially a triple threat match and then they turned it into a fatal 4-way. And when you do that, it's because we're going to bring in other wrestlers that have stories with each other that make sense. You can't just do it just to book it. Triple threat match, this would make sense based on the stories that they're telling.
So are we saying that, it should be...
Well, what do you want to see? Do you want to see Punk Cody? Do you want to see Cena Cody?
For the sake of Cena getting number 17, I think I want to see Cena more. As insane as it sounds.
I don't want Cena to win it.
I still think it should be Orton. I know I talked weeks ago about it probably being Roman versus Cody again for that third final end of the trilogy. We don't know what's happening there.
I look at it like this. I'm hearing that WWE is trying to go ahead and have a premium live event in Boston towards the end of the year called Ruthless Aggression to at least highlight Cena's send-off. If we're sitting down, we're looking at it. We've always said, if you go out, you do the honors. You go out looking up at the lights. I'm thinking this is the year that Cody turns heel. If you guys watched SmackDown last night, you probably heard that a lot of people were starting to go ahead and just cheer for Roman while Cody was literally up there. It seems like Cody has kind of gotten a bit stale with the fans.
No, you know what?
Sitting there looking at the momentum leading into WrestleMania, Cena has all the momentum after that press conference that he had after the Royal Rumble, saying that, look, I'm going to win a 17th world title. I'm going into the Elimination Chamber, and I'm making sure that I go to WrestleMania to go ahead and go into the main event, and I want to win my 17th.
I don't think Cody has gotten stale until you start hearing what. That is the beginning of the stale, is when you start hearing what, and he didn't get that. He hasn't gotten that yet.
And the other thing that we also haven't thought about is, and this is something that I've talked about with other people also, Cena could potentially win that 17th championship. He doesn't have to do it at WrestleMania.
Right, yeah, it could be anywhere.
They have an entire year to build Cena's story. He could win it at SummerSlam.
Correct.
He could win it at the Survivor Series. He could win it at any other point. But if we're looking at Cody at WrestleMania, it has to be something that makes sense storyline-wise. And even though Cena's story build works, I don't think it should be built as the main event at WrestleMania. I think that if you're going to have Cody wrestle somebody, chances are it's either Punk, maybe it's McIntyre, but I personally think it's going to be Orton. I think Orton's still waiting unless he's got some sort of injury we don't know anything about.
I mean, Orton would have to be in the Elimination Chamber qualifier match because we only have like one more match to go to decide who's going to be that last person to enter in the chamber. And I don't think Orton's in any of those matches. And I don't think Orton's
unless they work an angle where somebody in that match gets hurt before the show starts.
Right.
Or before it happens. Somebody got jumped in the locker room. We don't know who did it. We find out what happens. You see a car drive up. You see Randy Orton get out of the car. You see him stroll in. I'm getting in this match, and then I qualify.
I know you guys have all the respect for Randy Orton, and I guess he does deserve it, but I never liked Randy Orton's matches. I don't want to see him and Cody. I get it for storyline. It makes sense, but
Chris, is it because it's slow and methodical? Is it because it's slow paced and he kind of like goes off the feelers of the crowd and he moves with how the aspect is and everything? Is that why, or is it just?
But it's too slow down. No, they're slowing a match down to where it makes sense, and then there's Randy Orton slow down. It's just sometimes it's boring. Remember the greatest match of all time? How boring was that? Was supposed to be fun and a great match. They had to edit that match 100 times if you know the story behind it. That match was we don't know what that match looked like without it being edited. It was so bad.
Got a point. Got a point.
I don't want to see. Listen, the way Cody and Punk had that interaction in the ring recently, that made me want to see that match. I wanted to see that match just based on that segment alone.
Now, the one thing that I do want to kind of bring up in here before we go over to the next segment is something that we didn't get a chance to mention, and Chris will know who I'm talking about, that passed away recently, and it's Ed Wisniewski, who also wrestled in the AWA as Colonel De Beers.
Yes.
He passed away in, I believe, December, but they only announced his death within the last week or so. And for those that don't know who he is, most of it is because if you were of a time period that watched the AWA and watched wrestling, especially if you look at it in Minnesota, or if you just watch the AWA, he was a face for a good chunk of his career wrestling in Vern Gagne's AWA. But the late 80s, especially between 1984, 85, 86, he went and completely changed and how wrestling always seems to mimic current events. The apartheid issue that happened in South Africa and all of the De Beers family with the diamonds and all of the other things that were going on in South Africa, they made that character Colonel De Beers, and he became such an over the top heat magnet. And he would get into the ring, he would refuse to wrestle African American wrestlers, he would say all kinds of vile, disgusting things to the fans. And a lot of people know that there were two notable feuds that he had in the AWA. One was with Scott Hall, which cost Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig their AWA tag team titles. And then the other one is that he had was with Superfly Jimmy Snuka, another black wrestler that we haven't talked about before.
Wait, he didn't wrestle. I thought he had a feud with Sergeant Slaughter also.
He had a feud with Sergeant Slaughter, but that was later on as the years went on, because that was after Slaughter, the whole G.I. Joe thing later after Slaughter went to AWA and then came back. Basically, that feud started where Colonel De Beers refused to get into the ring with Jimmy Snuka. I don't wrestle people like you. The fans would get on him. Snuka had a match where Colonel De Beers then interfered, gave him what his finishing move was, a front pile driver, face first on the concrete. And everybody that watched the AWA back then knew that was one of the most bloody, violent instances to happen on AWA television. So there was that impact of Colonel De Beers being there. So at least from that standpoint, I wanted to at least mention that he passed away at the age of 81. So I had to bring that up too, for those that have followed him.
Well, RP to him, and prayers to his family, prayers to his loved ones, and prayers to his friends. But of course, RP to him. We go ahead and always show grace here on Saturday afternoon's main event for those who go ahead and pass on to new life if they have been in the world of pro wrestling. So once more, RIP to him. But look, we have only one last piece of news for today, and that is our predictions for tonight's Vengeance Day premium live event for NXT. So look, at least this isn't predetermined and doesn't have any results here. So look, I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm reading it, Chris. It doesn't seem like nothing says defeated. Fingers crossed. But look, I'm going in a straight line from 1 through 6. Femi, Bacher, Julia, Evans, Fraxium, Williams. I'm done here.
Yeah,
Peeps, are you feeling the same way?
Yeah, I think Oba is going to win. I don't see Stephanie winning initially. I think that they'll save that for later on down the road. So I think Henley's going to win that one. Julia, Bailey, and Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade. Julia's going to win that. I don't think that she's going to lose in that at all. Evans is going to probably get his revenge, I think, against Ethan Page. Maybe we see a Ricky Starks interaction somewhere in there. Fraxium is going to win. And I think Trick Williams, I'm going to go for the upset, and I'll actually say that Eddie Thorpe wins. I'm going to just go off on the side because I think it's just different enough that it would bring that feud a little hotter for the next showing. So I'm going to actually go for an upset on that.
Okay,
question.
Chris, how we feeling?
So I have a question. I'm not really, I can't lie and say I watched this product. I don't. There's not enough hours in my week, unfortunately. But I have a question for you guys. Is Trick Williams and Roxanne Perez definitely called up after WrestleMania?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyone else gets called up?
I definitely feel that. I feel
Anyone
that
else?
Roxanne even gets a WrestleMania moment. I feel that Roxanne's getting a WrestleMania moment.
Really?
That's how confident I am in this situation, because I feel like Roxanne and Bailey are definitely going to go ahead and have a match at WrestleMania. That's how I'm feeling.
Okay, cool. All right.
That's how I'm genuinely feeling. Trick, when it comes down to Trick, I mean, I thought we were going to get Trick at the Rumble. We still haven't even gotten a whoop that Trick moment where thousands of people are literally chanting whoop that Trick.
Yeah.
After WrestleMania, if like Peeps is saying, this feud carries through and we get to see that roadblock and then we have like the match, like third match at Stand and Deliver, then I see it going the way that Peeps is saying, where like it'll be after WrestleMania, definitely after WrestleMania for Trick. But Roxanne, I feel that Roxanne's gonna have a WrestleMania moment this year. I
She's ready.
genuinely do
Yes.
feel that she's ready, absolutely.
Oh,
But
this just in. Tony Khan just gave us a few more minutes on the WB deal here. We got a few more minutes.
a few more minutes.
I wanted
few
to
more-
transition, guys. I know it was on the rundown, so we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we went long a little bit. But we got to talk about SmackDown last night. A lot of stuff went down that was really good.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Were you surprised that Priest won? I was. I mean,
Priest, look, it's for what it is. Obviously, Priest is Triple H's golden goose. Not in a sense of, like Cody wise, but in a sense of Priest is someone untouchable. Priest hasn't been pinned in damn near months.
Yeah.
If you've been keeping count, Priest hasn't been pinned. Priest is being built up to be, pretty much a unstoppable force on SmackDown.
Yeah.
We know that, the whole like transfer portal and all these different types of other things, and, like that's implemented and that's set in place. We know he's not gonna win it. He's not gonna win the chamber match. But right now, it's kind of like you're putting like Triple H has had, Triple H has his modern day Undertaker. Like the man that doesn't get pinned, displays ability, displays talent, displays agility, displays that he can do all these different types of moves, and he's not going to lose easily. So it's just like that's what it currently is with Priest.
But
I'm not surprised.
it was
Obviously,
a lukewarm
I'm surprised.
reaction. The fans didn't really care. They wanted Fatu to win. We all know they wanted Jacob Fatu to win. So that's my next question. Are we definitely getting Jacob Fatu Solo Sikoa at WrestleMania?
Yes.
Okay.
I fully believe that. If you saw the interaction last night and you saw how Solo literally looked at him and he was like, "I love you, Jacob," and
Right.
Jacob just looked at him like,
Mm-hmm.
"What the heck?"
I got no love for you. Leave me alone.
Exactly. Like I got no. And Tama followed Jacob. That should just tell you enough. And the fact that it was like once they showed that Solo arrived at the arena and Cody seemed like he was about to go ahead and confront Solo first, and you just saw Jacob just push him back and he was like, "Look, I got family business to handle with him first."
Yes, I love that interaction. I love that.
Yo, I feel sorry for that backstage crew because it was like Tama asked him first. He was like, "Yo, where's Solo?" He was like, "I don't know." Tama kept walking, and Jacob's just like, "Move out the way."
Good, that guy got destroyed. I don't know who got hit harder
him,
recently, that dude or ISO Speed, because that was pretty brutal. Both
Speed.
ends.
Yes.
Yo, Speed. Yo, the spear that Speed took. This is why I don't want to take a Braun Breaker spear. If that isn't spear of the year, I don't know what is. Because
that looked as vicious as the Goldberg spear on Dolph Ziggler years ago.
My
You
ribs
remember that
are
one?
broken. My ribs are virtually broken because of that spear.
Real quick, Jacob Fatu, that opening segment with the mic work, the fans were hanging on every word. He's so over.
He is
how over he is. The only words he said that they didn't get behind is when he mentioned bringing the title back to the family. The fans supported everything he said except for that. They don't want him to be part of the family. They want him to be on his own. That's what I took out of that.
Yeah,
exactly right. No, absolutely right. They want him to do his own. So it's just like for me, I sit there and I look at it. Look, we've been saying it even prior to WrestleMania last year that the minute Jacob shows up, all hell finna break loose, and it's finna be perfect because he has the agility, he has the talent when it comes to pro wrestling. But the mic work itself,
and he sells his. I say the same 4 words every time I say it. That man is special. Period.
Yeah, he is him, right? He
is him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Carmelo Hayes him. No, he's literally him. Like
I love when he said, "I'm gonna dog walk your ass."
I'm waiting for the moment he says that on WWE television.
Yes.
When he does, I am going to literally mark out.
Yes.
Not.
Yo, he did. He said it last night. Go over and watch it. He said it last night. Dog
I literally missed. No,
yes.
but wait, but like, girl, but I'm talking like, like.
What do you mean?
He says. Walk your B ass. Like once he says, you have.
To you want him to say the entire phrase?
I want him to say the entire thing.
Okay.
Once he does, I'm done. I'm done.
Last thing for me before we go. Actually, 2 things. One, the LA Knight Miz segment clearly was not written because those two were pausing a lot, thinking of things to say to one another. So do you think did that become awkward at all for you guys watching that live? Because you could see they were like they knew they had time. but they were
It
like
does.
really digging in the crates to come up with something to say.
Yeah.
It does. Sometimes you sit there and you look at it and you're like, okay, that's how could have went to somebody else. Genuinely, it could have gone to anybody else. When it comes down to rest, they put you on the air with expectations of knowing that you're gonna go ahead and deliver. That didn't feel as if it was delivering. It felt like it was lacking at that point. At that point, I was
Yeah.
sitting there like,
Yeah, I don't think it was
okay,
bad, but clearly, remember, it's a 3-hour show. So how many
exactly.
other time
That's
remember,
the problem.
You're giving X amount of time to the motor city. I almost said shitty motor machine guns. I didn't mean to say that. You know, everyone on this show gets a little too much time because of 3 hours. It desperately needs
Absolutely.
to go back to 2. It really does.
Yes.
And the last thing, what were your thoughts on Charlotte finally picking Tiffy?
As I said it before. I'll say it again. Tiffy is going to go ahead and beat Charlotte at WrestleMania. It's set in stone with that. As you can tell, the fans are behind Charlotte. They obviously went ahead and made that known. Every single one of us have made that known. They're still pushing it the way that they're pushing it. Now it's shown that now it's not Charlotte playing as face anymore. It's Charlotte playing into that heel role. So it's like,
what she's
okay,
perfect for. That's what
absolutely.
she perfectly made.
Obviously, dirtiest daughter in the game. So it's obvious that, you know, she should go ahead and play into that role well.
And by the way, she's single now. You guys know that they got divorced, right?
Yeah.
Yo, I feel sorry for Andrade because now, that green card ain't coming in no more, man. That sucks. Like, jeez, I was really pulling for dog, man. Like, he had at least one more year, just one more year to get residency. Why did you have to mess it up? I don't know, but you know, now Andrade is really now solo idolo. So it's like, what can I possibly say? But
before I forget, I brought this up in the group chat last night. Right now, I think both guys are doing the best work of their career by far, and it's hard to choose which guy's doing better work, Kevin Owens or Drew McIntyre. Owens absolutely killed his promo last night. It was so good.
I'm ready for that match with Sami Zayn at Elimination Chamber. How much does it deliver? I don't know, but all I know is that, look, from what it looks like, if gets that third match at WrestleMania, I'm not mad. I'm genuinely not mad because I think they've been trying to tell the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn story the same way that Triple H told it at NXT, and they still haven't gotten around to actually nailing it on the hammer. Like, they haven't gotten to actually getting it to that point where every single fan is on it.
And even more so to how to finish it. Because I think that the feud that they have, there has to be a cap on all of the years built in.
You know, peeps. You know, I mean, it wouldn't be bad if Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn feud ended inside Hell in a Cell.
See, get out of my head because I was about to mention the same thing.
I just got word. Tony Khan said we have about 90 seconds to get off the air. The network has to.
Well, you know what? It's always gonna be a screw Tony Khan. It's always gonna be a screw him. But because we never usually go out around this time, and we've been trying to go ahead and be adamant on an hour. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we got to all the news that we possibly could get to.
Yes.
We got to all our takes. We got to everything possibly for tonight when it comes to Grand Slam and when it comes to Vengeance Day. Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, shows of all ages, this marks the end of same. Y'all can go ahead and relax, chill out, go back to your daily things because, of course, the theme song is literally playing in the studio right now. Directed on the phenomenal one. This has been same. Relax. Go enjoy Grand Slam tonight. Go enjoy Vengeance Day. Go enjoy the rest of the week when it comes to pro wrestling. Because, of course, I believe within the next coming weeks, we're going to have Elimination Chamber. And the road to WrestleMania is still in balance. We're still going to see the use of so many different storylines and all these different types of other things when it comes to AEW. Look, ladies and gentlemen, we're in for a ride all the way from now up until April, all the way to the end of the year. But one thing remains sure and certain is that Same is going to be here every single Saturday to give you laughs, good times, and all the wrestling news possible. This has been Saturday afternoon's main event, where I, the phenomenal one,
and of course, I, the Peep Snatch,
Mr. 411. You guys can do your little ending there. I have nothing to do with that.
All right. Well, we came.
Yeah.
We saw.
And in the words of the great Paul Heyman,
send us home, peeps.
We conquered.
We conquered, ladies and gentlemen. It's 1:15. Peace out. It's been Same. It's the phenomenal one. It's the Peep Snatch. It's Mr. 411. Like I said, Saturday afternoon's main event. Peace, love, fair. Go.